Test, test, test. Audio, audio, audio. How we doing, boys and gals? Gals and boys. Looks like the audio levels are good. So yeah, Bitcoin. What's up? What's going on here? So let's look at the daily chart, of course, as we like to do, and then we'll zoom out and then zoom back in, because there's a lot of information on all the different time frames. First and foremost, the thing that's really standing out to me is if you draw a fib retracement set for the entire parabolic run. So if we look at something like this, we see that it is right now, it is finding resistance / butting up against approximately the 61% retracement mark. That also happens to be a pivot point for several on several occasions during the market, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Let's go. All right, where's my pen? Cool. So if we look at the 61% retracement level, we see that right here. Should we make this black? Let's make this black. So we see right here is where the parabolic run-up really took place. If you've been following my content for a while, you know that this is called the hypodermic trend line. Hypodermic trend line, TL. And this is where, right around Thanksgiving time, if you're an American, the really big media cycle really kicked in. And that's when mom, dad, and grandma and the whole fucking retirement community started buying little pieces of Bitcoins so they could show their friends how hip they are. Where shortly thereafter they lost their ass because it retraced, and they don't. And now Bitcoin became the scam that they always knew it was. But we can see here, this is actually a pretty key level here. This right here. So let's keep this level in mind as we move laterally across the board. So we see this was the first one. The first puncturing was the V bottom. Okay, right here. Second one was like this W bottom kind of. If we zoom in, this is actually a really nice accumulation trading range. And now we have another accumulation trading range in the form of an inverted head and shoulders that broke out. And now it is coming up to the pivot point. Okay, so one can. I have a pet theory about this that I'll go into detail a little bit later. Why this level is so significant. Again, if you've been following my Twitter feed for any length of time, I've talked about this a couple of times. But before we go into any detail about that, let's look at some of our indicators on the higher time frames, just to see if we can gain any insight here. So let's get rid of all my little things here. If you recall from the last stream, I was talking about how the price of Bitcoin was just now entering the daily cloud, and we could see here it is fully through the daily cloud. And these are default settings. I don't really want to get into a debate as to why I use default settings rather than the quote-unquote crypto settings, whatever you want to call them. I find these to be just as satisfactory. But so we're through the cloud. Cool. Not only are we through the cloud, but the Tenkan and the Kijun have had a weak bullish cross below the cloud, and they are trending above. I'm sorry, they're trending through the cloud right now. The price is well above the cloud, so this is a nice bullish setup. The next obstacle for the cloud is going to be if we can get the Chiku span through the cloud. And if we can manage to get the Chiku span through the cloud, the price through the cloud, the Tenkan, the Kijun through the cloud, that is a really great bullish setup, and it will be the first legit cloud bullish setup we've seen in quite some time. So if you're not familiar with how to use the Ichimoku cloud, one of the strongest setups you can see is so let's make. I'll go ahead and draw this a little bit. So if we saw this little guy, damn, that was a perfect match. Wow, it was incredible. So for whatever reason, we see the Chiku span go through the cloud. We see, is that gonna match? Oh, so close. Is that gonna match? That should match, right? That close enough, whatever. If we see the Tenkan through the cloud, okay, and we also see the Kijun through the cloud. Oh, what happened to my Chiku span? if we see all this and we see the price through the cloud, which it already is, obviously, this is a great setup for a bullish continuation. And of course, we see the bullish twist on the Kumo, which gives us an extra little bit of mustard on the pastrami sandwich. But of course, you can see here this red line, which is kind of just meandering through my chart. This is the 200 EMA, 200 exponential moving average, which is kind of the gold standard, if you will, for EMAs on the daily chart. If we can pop above this, which just so happens to be the 61% retracement, as I stated earlier, then this is the healthiest bull trend we've seen this year so far. So right now, Bitcoin is set up for success. It is up to bat. It is bases loaded. Just don't fuck it up, Bitcoin. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit further because right now the bulls are getting a little cloud boner on the daily. So let's see what the 3-day looks like. 3-day, not the best, but you can see we're running into resistance on the 50 EMA on the 3-day, which also happens to be intersecting with the Kijun here. So not a bullish setup yet, but the cloud is a lagging indicator. And if the bulls have a good little field day on the daily chart, then the 3-day will reflect it as well. And if we look at the weekly, something very nice is taking place here. Okay, we opened and we have been continuing to trend above the weekly 50 EMA. So that's a great milestone. Right now, I think everyone who's hyping the Bitcoin bull market should be cautious, but I think bullish skepticism for the tail end of this bear market is in order. I think there's a lot of great setups here, just with the cloud alone. We can talk about some of the other setups that I like to use, like with trading ranges and such. But yeah, right now the daily trend has some really great things going for it. Today we just closed the daily candle above the cloud, and if we can pop above this 50 or this 200 EMA, then I think we're going to see a large flood of volume coming in, because great segue here, Bitcoin Schmitcoin. If we can see a breakthrough of this pivot, where is it? This pivot, this resistance level. If we can break through that, then I think it'll be off to the races. And here's why. So, I have a personal theory that the composite operators, if you're unfamiliar with the Wyckoffean term, the composite operators, you can think of them as the big dicks in the market, the guys with the deep pockets, the people who are running the trends, the market makers, if you will. I think everything below this hypodermic breakout, or this the hypodermic breakout right here, I think everything below this is accumulation. Okay, so I think everything down here has been accumulation. And you can see here that we had our first initial dip here on very high volume. Okay, we had our second dip here, which lasted considerably longer than this V bottom on a little bit less volume. And now we see here on our third dip, it was much more prolonged with significantly lower volume. And we even pushed a new low right here. And this right here is very significant. This is, if you are a self-proclaimed Wyckoffean analyst of sorts, or if you're just some dude who likes to play with trading ranges in your free time, we would call this a spring. Okay, springs are quite the meme right now on Twitter. Everyone wants to call every fucking thing that dips to a new low a goddamn spring, and it's not. It's driving me crazy. There are criteria for a spring. Just because a coin, just because an altcoin is shitting out a new low, that does not mean it is a fucking spring. But I understand people are excited and they want to justify why they're deeply in debt to the altcoin market. So whatever makes you feel better. But let's go ahead and talk about this trading range, because I think there's some notable features to break down here. So if you're going to call this a reaccumulation trading range, you could argue that this is parabolic blow off into reaccumulation. So if we're going to look on this on a larger scale, although yes, this is distribution, the argument really wouldn't be that it was like distribution into accumulation. It'd be a reaccumulation with a parabolic blow off preceding the accumulation. I'm sorry, the reaccumulation. So let's talk about what that means. First, let's label the anatomy, and then we'll talk about this price action in here, because this is very interesting. So we would call all of this, which if you're looking at this on like the 4-hour time frames, this is a really nice distribution trading range, but on higher time frames like the daily or the 3-day even, this is just parabolic blow off into an accumulation trading range, or an alleged accumulation trading range. So the anatomy would be as such. So we would have a selling climax, an SC. We'd have an automatic reaction. We'd have a secondary test. We have another secondary test, ST. This would be like kind of like a secondary test that was overwhelmed by supply and underwhelmed by demand. So we can call this a secondary test as well. And this little bro right here, we're going to call you Creek. Okay. This would be a Creek. So what are the notable traits of a Creek? A Creek has one has meandering price action, so downward meandering price action. Okay. The other important feature is any sort of bullish rally is easily checked with the presence of supply. So weak demand smashed by supply. Okay. The other characteristic that's important is that we see consolidating volume for the most part, like no real peaks in volume, and the ones that do peak are kind of like outlier little bros, and really it should look, ideally it should look like consolidating volume. So consolidating volume. Okay. So first, let's go through these one by one. These 3 items. Let's talk about why they're important and why they're an important feature of an accumulation trading range. Okay, so meandering price action. Typically on the latter part of an accumulation trading range, we see meandering price action because the entire purpose of a creek is to wear down buyer interests. It's to make them think that Bitcoin will never rally again. It's to get people to capitulate. It's to get people to lose confidence in the market. Okay. So we see meandering price action, right? So all this is just kind of like, it's, just kind of just not really doing a whole lot. It's very, very choppy price action as well. So this definitely meets that criteria, right? So check. Check. Okay. Weak demand smashed by supply. Okay. So if we look at all of these little rallies in here, they're very weak rallies. And what do I mean by that? Like, so if we look down, this is one of the most noticeable ones right here, right? So this is the longest little bull rally out of, these little bros right here. And what we see is throughout the length of this little rally that it has, total volume is going down, which is indicative of weakening demand, and that weakening demand is confirmed by the presence of massive supply on the tail end of the rally. Okay, so we see weakening demand on the way up, and then we see, boom, widespread, high volume, and a smash to the lower boundaries of the trading range. Okay, so check, check. Consolidating volume. Well, it's pretty obvious that the volume is consolidating here, so check. Okay, so that brings us to our next question. After I just got done ridiculing everyone on Twitter for talking about springs, which aren't fucking springs, what is a spring then? Okay, well, get out of here. A spring, all a spring is a breach of the lower boundary of the trading range. Okay, in order for it to be a spring, it has to make a new low. And there are several different types of springs. So springs don't come in this like general variety where it's like, oh, it pushes a new low, therefore it is a spring. No, it's like the square and the rectangle kind of thing, right? Like, just because a spring makes a new low doesn't mean, or just because price action makes a new low, that doesn't mean it's a spring, but all springs make a new low. Okay, you can have different things that you can get more nuanced kind of stuff where price action functions as a spring, but is not an actual spring by definition. Okay, so what is a spring then? This is a spring. Okay, and this is, if I'm remembering my type of springs correctly, I think it's called a type 1 spring. Type 1? Someone check me on that. It's a type 1 spring, and that is a low volume spring on the new low. So we can see here quite obviously that as it punctures a new low for the first time in several months, right, the volume is just absent. Okay, so this is our first clue. As we're analyzing trading ranges, we have to think about, we need to be agnostic, but we need to be starting to develop a story, right? Like, what is going on with the price action and why is it happening? So as we're developing these trading ranges and we're analyzing them, we're being little detectives, okay? Like, we're sitting here trying to develop a story as to what the fuck is actually going on, because it's very hard and there's a lot of trickery going on, okay? So, but right now, the way the current situation is situated, at the expense of being redundant, this is a spring in an accumulation trading range that had a jump across the creek, which was this little thing, which a jump across the creek, JAC, is widespread, obviously, high volume, relatively high volume, and obviously it has to jump a creek. So if there's a creek there and you see high spread, this is a sign of, you guessed it, CO sponsorship, which is a good sign if you're a bull and a bad sign if you're a bear. Okay. If we look closer at the price action, we see not only did we closed a new high, we closed it above the previous high on very high volume and modest spread, if I do say so myself. Okay, a couple of days ago, if you were in my Discord, this bearish candle was kind of tripping me out. But this ended up making a continuation pattern that me and a few people in my Discord have identified to be a fake head and shoulders, and we'll talk about that right now. If we look on like the 60-minute chart, there is a pattern that we've kind of labeled in the Bitcoin, Schmitcoin trading community as, we just call it a meme head and shoulders. And the criteria is thus. So it looks like a head and shoulders, right? So we see shoulder, head, shoulder. Okay. But there's something slightly different about this. One, the right shoulder makes a new low. Boom. This is our first giveaway that we made a new low, but the price reacted to it. Okay? So this is our first clue that this is a potential continuation pattern. Okay, so this is criteria 1. Right shoulder makes a new low. Makes new low. Okay, criteria 2 is, oh, sorry, this should say right neckline. Neckline. Criteria 2 is the right shoulder. Ideally, we'd like to see a right shoulder make a new high, which if you're looking at the candle closes, it kind of does, but on the retracement of the right shoulder, it does not meet the neckline. So this is another clue. Aha. Okay, if we're playing detective here, as it breaks the neckline here, this is an attempt at a liquidity run or a push up to bait in eager bears on the head and shoulders pattern. And then this is where they get trapped. Oh man, it is fucking pouring rain outside. So we see here, this is our clue that we're actually in for a continuation. Most likely, I should caveat that we're most likely in for a continuation because we have a great situation for a short squeeze because we have trapped shorters. Okay, we have trapped shorters here that sold the breakout. We have trapped shorters here that shorted this little bro right here, and now as we push them higher and higher, people are shorting the resistance, which is the 61% retracement, and the, was it the daily 200? So everyone's shorting that, which means it is cocked and loaded for a short squeeze. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if ever there were a time to do it, now is the time. So in my opinion, Bitcoin is set up for success. And if ever there were a time for it to rally, it's now. All right. Questions. I just talked for a solid 20 minutes, I think. So let's hear some questions. Someone's saying, oh, it's a spring number 3. Okay. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I always forget the types of springs. I know spring number 2 is a high volume spring, I believe. Doesn't a break of the neckline on the right shoulder just invalidate the head and shoulders pattern? Yeah, it does. And it gives the illusion to the eager bears that this is a head and shoulders, but it is not. Have you really been, what? Have you really been far even as decided to use even go want to do more like? What? I think something, either your translator fucked up or you're having a stroke. I have no idea what the hell that means. Don't we have bearish divergence going on? That is a really vague question. On what time frame with what indicator? Do you expect a retest? A retest of what? What are you expecting a retest of? Do you want to still see a BUEC before continuing? I mean, so here's the deal. You can have a sign of strength or a jump across a creek that doesn't have a retracement immediately. Like it could rally all the way up to the top of the trading range, have a BUEC, and then continue. Like here's an example right now with Tesla. Okay, so here's Tesla right now. Tesla had a major jump across the creek here, and it did not have a pullback until it reached the top of the trading range. So it's totally possible Bitcoin could do that. There's no rule that says it has to pull back right as soon as it jumps. Like it could continue going up, make a new high, bait in some shorters, see some supply introduced into the market, have a little bit of a pullback, and then a continuation. So it doesn't have to pull back right now. It does not have to do that. Don't you think CO didn't let it go to 5,000K as many expected on purpose? Oh, do you think CO didn't let it go to 5K as many expected? Yeah, I mean, it could be. Or it's just that the supply didn't enter, or didn't surface, you know? Like when we're looking at trading ranges, like every little pivot on the trading range is a test of supply and demand. All of these things are tests. And what happened here was it poked a new low and no supply surfaced. It poked a new low twice. Or I'm sorry, it poked out of the trading range twice. 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. And even on the retest, here, this is called the retest of the spring. So spring, retest. The retest had very low volume. So it's totally possible that the CO absorbed all the free floating supply, and everyone who bought below here is just going to hang on to it. You know, the people who took profit, and there's no more Bitcoin that's worth the squeeze of the bear market. You know what I mean? In your Discord, what is Bitcoin Schmitcoin's office? That channel is locked for me. It's my office, bro. You gotta have the keys. Only I have the keys to my office. Are you gonna do traditional markets? Yeah, I plan on talking about the traditional markets after this. So what you're saying is Bitcoin is going to some obscene number, like everyone said last summer? No, that is not at all what I said. Would XRP shitting the bed versus Bitcoin qualify as a terminal shakeout? Yeah, so everyone wants to talk about the altcoins because everyone's like, what the fuck's going on, you know? You look over at Litecoin and it's just bleeding out of its ass. You look over at Ether, it's doing the same thing. My boy Coin is just breaking hearts left and right. It's probably gonna pop a new low here. That's what I would do if I was a CO. Pop just a barely new low and then rally it. So the question is, does this qualify as a terminal shakeout? So here's the thing: is that you don't know it's a terminal shakeout until it rallies. That's what's so hard about trading springs, and that's why it's a terminal shakeout is just a form. It's like a form of a spring. But the hard part about trading springs, even though they're very high risk, very high reward, they are very difficult because you're basically just knife catching. You're hoping you bought the bottom, because what happens is after springs they rally, and a lot of times they rally very unassumingly. They just kind of just slowly climb up, like no effort, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess it's just going up, and then all of a sudden it just keeps going up, and it's back in the trading range. So it is generally unadvisable. It is not advisable to trade the spring. Typically you wait for the retest of the spring, or jump across the creek volume and buy either the breakout or the BUEC. Or if you're feeling particularly greedy, just start buying shit coins that are dumping right now and just hope you're right. What's your thought on alts? They seem to be selling ratios on high volume. No, they're not. They're selling on very low volume. So like look at the Coin, for example. It's not on high volume at all. It's just kind of just meandering and crying. Ether, same story, just kind of meandering and crying. You know, there's no notable volume here. Like, yeah, it's like okay, but it's not like holy shit, you know, that kind of volume. It's just slowly trudging along. Same thing with Litecoin, same thing with XRP, same thing with all these coins, man. Who is your daddy and what does he do? Oh, by the way, so this is the last week to use a coupon code for my Discord. So it is 50% off. If you'd like to join the Discord and get in on these sorts of discussions on a daily basis, then go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and use coupon code happy 1 year. Yeah, happy 1 year to commemorate the 1 year anniversary of our trading group. So again, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and check it out and learn you some Wyckoff stuffs, so you don't be the schmuck that sells the spring and buys the parabolic blow off. My Wyckoff heart tells me to buy the fuck out of some alts. Such low volume beneath the trading range. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. It's really tempting. Like, I'm sitting here, like, looking at Sidecoin. I'm like, I might start buying some. Especially with the way Bitcoin's looking right now on, like, a macro scale. Like, that daily cloud is looking fucking hot right now. It's so hot. It's like it's so fucking hot right now. Last week your coupon code didn't work. Gave me some error. Interesting. Hold on, let me talk to my admin about that. And I'll message him right now and see if we can fix it. Because I know several people have used it. So I know it's working. Maybe you just entered it wrong. How many people are in your group? Right now, active users are like 100 right now. That's just active users. The thing is, like, so many people are on, basically we take shifts because so many people are across the world. So it's like the Aussies take the different hours. The London Open brings the UK guys and the Euro guys. So it's just like kind of comes and goes, you know? Do you guys have any questions about anything I said about the Bitcoin stuff before I move on to some of the traditional markets and talk about that stuff? Can you talk about XRP? There is nothing going on unique with XRP that isn't happening with all these other coins. XRP is doing the exact same thing all the other coins are doing. What would invalidate a jump across the creek? The presence of supply and a retracement back to the bottom of the trading range. So if you are not an OG, will you be mocked or helped? I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean by that? What retracement would be okay? So typically, with jump across the creeks, we really don't want to see anything greater than a 61%, and that's pushing it. 50% is what Bruce Fraser says. You know, if there's a retracement greater than 61%, that is typically indicative of supply still being dominant in the market, and usually indicates a continuation of the downtrend to the bottom of the trading range. And I'll show you an example of that right now. So Tesla did that, right? If we look at Tesla on the daily chart, so we saw where's my fibs? So we would say that, let's do that. So this is really where the jump across the creek happened. Okay, so look here. So the jump across the creek happened, right? It dipped below 50%, which is okay. But ultimately, supply dominated the market with the bad news that happened, and a big sell-off happened, and it returned to the bottom of the trading range. That's what we would expect with Bitcoin. If we saw like a 61% retracement, I don't know that I would buy it. Honestly, I'd probably just wait. I don't like that setup. I don't like a setup that retraces more than 50%. If I see a BUEC that retraces more than 50%, I don't personally buy it. I wait for the daily close and see if it closes above the 50%, which it did in Tesla's case, which is why I bought it down here. But yeah. Meaning I have little experience. Oh, you're asking if you don't have much experience, would you be mocked? No, I don't think I've ever seen anyone get mocked in my group. Everyone's fucking chill, man. I mean, there are like some personality clashes, but that just happens. Oh, this guy's saying he'll mock you. Okay, so Juan Dubois, he'll mock you, but everyone else is pretty cool. All right, any other questions here, guys and gals, before I move on to stocks and the like? Oh, where would you draw? Okay, that's a good question. Where would you draw fibs for Bitcoin for the spring? You draw it from the retest. Basically, what you're looking for when you're drawing fibs for a jump across the creek is where did the sponsorship kick in? Because that's really what you're interested in. So for our example, we would draw them like here. This would be acceptable to do. Oops. We do it here. Like that. Because you don't really care about any of this shit down here. You want to see the retracement of the sponsorship, this is a more nuanced way of doing fibs. This, in my opinion, is the correct way to use fibs, but to each their own. Well, you can be somewhat curt at times. Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not in a good mood 24/7 if that's what you're looking for. Is there any correlation between crypto and the traditional stock markets which you see? Wait, sorry. Is there any correlation between crypto and the traditional stock market which you see while intraday trading? I haven't. I've been trying to, because I trade a lot of Forex now, and I've been trying to see if I see correlations with the drop in the dollar index, which I have right here actually. Where is it? Right here. I've been trying to see if I can see correlations. So here's the dollar index, which just looks like a whole lot of shit. So one would expect, if there's going to be a direct correlation, that Bitcoin will move up when the dollar goes down. But I haven't seen anything like that. No, sorry. I have been paying attention to that. I think there is some slight correlation if we look at the timeline of the major indices. So like right now, for example, here's the I don't even know why I still have this on here. So here's the Dow Jones. Well, this is the ETF, but the track's the same. Okay, so we can see here that the Dow Jones bottomed almost the same fucking day that Bitcoin bottomed. Okay, which that says to me there is a level of correlation, and not only that, but we see here parabolic blow off into a fucking trading range. Right? So here's a trading range. So although it doesn't look one-to-one, that you know, one-to-one with the Bitcoin market, there's a lot of overlap and similarities. Okay, so we see here also. So let's look at the timeline of Bitcoin real quick. Where did Bitcoin bottom on this spring? Okay, let's see, on 6/24. 6/24. What do you know? So did the Dow Jones. Bitcoin had a jump across a creek, and so did the Dow Jones. So you know, there are similarities like that, which is a nice bit of supporting evidence that an overall market of investors is healthy and less scared. If we can see this sort of overlap between the Dow Jones, you know, NASDAQ, S&P, like all that stuff, all the traditional metrics of market health. If that's trending upward while Bitcoin's trending upward, that's a good sign, in my opinion, that it's an investor's market. I haven't found anything that's like directly tradable where it's like, oh, Dow Jones is moving, I can go here and jump on a Bitcoin position. But overall trend of a healthy market seems to be present here. And I'd be willing to bet that the moment Dow Jones breaks out of this trading range, Bitcoin will either be shortly behind it or shortly ahead of it. I was always wondering, does Wyckoff work with indices like Dow and Forex pairs? Oh yeah, of course. The beauty of Wyckoff is it works on any market where there are investors that are either scared or exuberant. That's what Wyckoff is. It is a psychological. It is a representation and a filter of investor sentiment and psychology. Man, you guys hear this rain? It is pouring right now. There's no such thing as too much liquidity, by the way. And I'm telling you from experience, I've been trading Forex and stocks very successfully using Wyckoff trading ranges. So. All right, you guys have any other questions about the Bitcoins? No other questions? How can you discern accumulation from distribution? Oh, that is a long conversation that is not quickly answered. Is the Dow volume meaningful? Because, for example, the DAX has no volume at all, and the S&P is just fucked up. Well, so right now, I'm looking at the ETF right now, and in my opinion, this matters. So I'm not looking at the Dow Jones, directly. I'm looking at the ETF that represents the Dow Jones, and I can, come to different conclusions with the volume trend on the ETF. Eduardo Contreras, I have a video out already that talks about that. I forget what it's called, but if you go back through my videos, there's I talk about the difference between distribution and accumulation in one of my videos back from, I don't know, earlier on in the year, I think. We'll look for it. Love you. I love you too, Eduardo. You're a great guy. All right, so let's talk about some stacks. And I kind of answered the general health of the indices already. So let's just look at a couple of stocks that are set up for success. Right now, unless you haven't seen, the quarterly earnings were released for Google, and the after hours went nuts. Look at that humongous fucking candle. So my guess is tomorrow's going to be a gap up day for Alphabet Soup over here for Google. Someone's saying Boeing looks like a good buy right now. I agree. I'm starting to assemble a long-term long position because I believe this is, where's my volume at? Fuck. Where's my volume? What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Just lagging behind. I believe this is a sort of reaccumulation. And now that Trump is just hurling threats at Iran, this bodes well for the military sector. So this is lining up pretty well. Yeah, I'm starting to assemble my longs, and that's based off the breakthrough, the preliminary. Wait, why is this here? This should not be here. Wow, cannot believe that is there. Wait. Oh yeah, okay, I moved it because of the after hours stuff. Okay, thought I moved it. So you can see here, if we're looking at this, again, a giant trading range. That is it looks like a reaccumulation trading range over the past year. And it had its jump across the creek sort of dealio here. And now it's doing like a last point of supply test right on the preliminary. I'm sorry, last point of support test right on the preliminary supply line. So Boeing earnings on Wednesday. Oh shit, really? Okay. Well, hold on to your butts, because Boeing, man, that's one thing that I'm having to adjust for with these stocks, is that these earnings just like wrecked the market. So, I mean, look at Netflix. I mean, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I'm looking at Boeing. I'm looking at Bank of America right now. It just broke out of this humongo. I don't want 60 minutes. I want a day. Why is this not doing day? Oh, day. It broke out of this humongous bull flag / falling wedge thing. And man, I fucked up and I meant to long this. And I don't know why I didn't, but I fucked up and I meant to grab a long right on this retest this wedge, and I'm so mad at myself. It might get another retest, like a deeper retest. So I'm going to try not to FOMO in on it, because a lot of times with falling wedges, they like to do this inverted head and shoulders things where it goes like this. And the retest is the right shoulder and it keeps going. So it might get a better opportunity here. But it is approaching the horizontal level here. You know, right here. So might run into some resistance there and get a nice entry there. What else? Coca-Cola. Them Coke boys. If you look at the daily, it just broke out of a huge ass inverted head and shoulders. And it is currently above the horizontal neckline. So that's good. Big ol' reaccumulation trading range. Oh yeah, the Disney. Disney is gonna, guys. Look at Disney right now. Look at this. If this isn't the world's largest bull pennant, I don't know what the fuck is. Okay? Look at this thing. These are 3-day candles. Look at this motherfucker. It just broke out of this. Okay, so the length of this goddamn pole is 330%. Okay? And it broke out of the top of it, and it's hitting a retest. And I'm starting to build a nice position on Disney because I'm going long on those anti-Semitic mice. Apparently that's what the world loves. So I'm buying up this retest and building a nice position here. Hopefully it doesn't just get rejected and just shit down to the bottom of this triangle, but it looks pretty good so far. And it also had a really good bit of news. They were like in a bidding war with Comcast over something. I forget what it was. Too many things to keep track of. But it had bullish news, so it's not completely unfounded, this breakout. So, so Disney is one that I'm really looking forward to. How are the after hours doing? Oh, nice. It gapped up. Cool. So tomorrow might be a gap up day for Disney. Tesla. So, okay, I'm gonna say something controversial here. I know Tesla ate shit today, but this is one of my favorite setups. Okay. One of my favorite setups here is when it gaps down, makes a reversal candle. In this case, it's like this little hammer sort of thing. Which usually results, if you see a gap up, as a strong continuation of the trend. So you can see this happen here, gapped up, a hammer, it went down, it's shit, gapped up, a hammer, went down, it's shit. This is one of my favorite setups that I've been playing. Let's see if we can find some more of those. Again, gap up, a little reversal doji, it went down. So these little setups are everywhere, and it's one of my favorite plays that I've on the stock market that I've been having a lot of success with. So I'm actually looking to go long on Tesla, which might be a fucking mistake, but considering I just got manhandled by Tesla a few weeks ago. But I'm willing to forgive Elon. He's just got that charming smile and those dead eyes. What else am I looking at? GoPro is not doing well. GoPro it broke out of a rising wedge. It had a head and shoulders retest, and now it's rejecting. So GoPro is not looking like it's supposed to be doing. It was at a very bullish setup, and it is just shitting the bed, metaphorically speaking. If we look at the cloud, it had all systems go, and it blew it. So it's not completely dead, but it is not the ray of sunshine it once was. Is not looking the best right now. Could you look at BMW? Oh, here's one on BlackBerry. I'm not personally trading this, but one of the people in my trading group asked me to look at it. BlackBerry could be set up for a really nice, sustained, multi-year bull market. Okay, it's in this trading range down here. If you look at the monthly, if you look at the 2 week, it gets a little cleaner. So, you know, we see this selling climax, automatic reaction, secondary test, this little creaky thing. And if we look at the cloud on the monthly, it's lining up really well. So look at the cloud on the monthly. It is currently rejecting the top of this thing, but the Chiku span's about to enter the cloud. It had a weak bullish cross. It looks very similar to the daily Bitcoin cloud chart. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. I'll set some alerts for BlackBerry. Let's see if it crosses this thing. All right. Someone's requesting BMW. Let's get BMW. Is this not the, what is the stock symbol for BMW? Is this it? What is the stock symbol for? So monthly trend doesn't look very good. It had a neutral bearish cross thing. No, it's a bullish cross actually. It's kind of in Nowheresville, isn't it? What does the weekly look like? Yeah, it's doing the chop shit. This is an ugly chart. I'm not a fan of this. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I don't feel comfortable giving my input on this. It is just chop fucking city. What is MU? What is that? Oh. Oh shit. So we see this actually doesn't look that bad. So we see consolidating volume, which is good for bullish continuation. Broke a new high. So this is like a bit of a trading range here. I mean, the weekly looks strong as fuck right now. I would probably wait for a buy on the Tenkin or something, but, or excuse me, on the Kijun. But it looks bullish on the weekly. It looks very bullish on the weekly. Yeah, it looks good. So yeah, it looks like a really healthy stock that's just having a reaccumulation sort of dealio here. Yeah, that's my take on it. Oh, and AMD. I have AMD pulled up. Where's that? Oh, AMD. Yeah. So AMD is at the top of what looks to be a reaccumulation trading range, where it just had an LPS test. We see a lot of supply absorption going on here. It popped up, but I'm not liking this rounding trend here. I think AMD recently had some bad news, didn't it? I forget. AMD B bands M top. Okay. I don't know what time frame you're looking at. It does look like an Adam and Eve double top though, at the current moment, which isn't the best. But B bands M top on the weekly. Nope. No, there is not. If it made a new high, it would have a setup for one, but these B bands aren't rounding. It didn't make a new high. It is not within any of the criteria of a B bands M top. Someone on Twitch is asking, are these stocks? Yeah, stocks, and I talked about crypto earlier. All right, well, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, Bitcoin's looking like a really great setup right now. I've been long on it since I bought unleveraged on the spring, somewhere in here. I think I get it like 6,100-ish, so somewhere in here. And I've been intraday trading it, but I'm not holding until Bitcoin proves itself to me and shows a really good sign of strength. I'm not holding leverage trades overnight with it because I don't feel like getting wick fucked by something like this or something like this. So my general rule of thumb is until I've got a confirmed bull trend for Bitcoin, I'm not trading it with leverage unless I'm sitting in front of it watching what's going on. So that's just my take on the Bitcoin market right now. But anyway, yeah, so if you guys are interested in my style of analysis and want more of it regularly, go to bitcoin.com, use the coupon code HAPPY1YEAR and get 50% off. It's valid for the next week. So if ever you've been curious about joining my group, now is the time to do it because that is the most I'm going to ever discount off of this. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. That was a solid hour and 15-minute stream. So you guys have a great rest of your night. If Bitcoin does something cool by the end of the week, maybe I'll do another stream. But if not, don't start the charts too long, guys. Go enjoy your life. Go enjoy your California pizza kitchen with your family and don't listen to my dumb voice and my squeaky chair, because what the hell do I know, right? I'm just a fucking baby carrot trying to make it in the big city. Anyway, go to bitcoin.com and join the trading community today. A really simple, easy way to support the stream, if you don't like those sorts of memberships, which is totally fine, just like, share, or subscribe to the video. That helps a lot with the metrics, and it gets me in front of more eyes. What else? What is the other thing I usually say? I don't know. That's all I got. Go to bitcoin.com. Hang out with the Uptown Carrot. All right, you guys have a great rest of your night. Bye.